Okay, so let's start then. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first webinar during National Apprenticeship Week. Today, we're going to be covering the topic around data to intelligence and how AI is reshaping data management. Thank you so much for everybody who's joining us today. I know you've all got very busy schedules, so we do appreciate your time that you've given up to be here today. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. If you don't mind just keeping yourself on mute. If you do have a camera, you would like to put yourself on, please do share your photo or your video that we can all see each other. I would like to also say that this video in this webinar is recorded. We will share this webinar with everybody, as well as your free CPD certificate to anybody that is attending our webinar today. But without further ado, I'm delighted to welcome our guest speaker today, Jonathan Knight. Over to you, Jonathan.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Okay, a little bit about me. Can you see my screen okay with the
Yes.
with the headings on? Oh, great, just thought I'd check. So my background, I've been working in IT probably for over 30 years. So I've been around for a while in IT, back when before they had a graphical interface, computers that is. And today what I'm going to do, I actually work as the IT and data trainer and coach. So data obviously is quite close to what I do on a daily basis, and what I'm going to do today, and I've got sort of a little bit of a agenda just to sort of give you a bit of an overview. By the way, spoiler alert, there's going to be lots of information on slides. I'm not going to go through everything on the slides. It's literally there for you to have a read through if you'd like to, but I'll be giving lots of context around the slides and what they mean and so on and so forth. At the end, we're going to have sort of any questions. So if you've got any questions or you'd like me to get back to you about data analytics or cybersecurity or anything like that, then please just stay on at the end, let me know, and I'll be glad to help. So today, I just want to talk about AI, a definition of AI. I know AI is a buzzword at the moment. Wherever you go, it's AI this and AI that. But I just want to sort of bring it down to probably a technical level to talk to say what it is, and the fact that we've been using it for many years already. It's just now that we have the compute power and the sort of the data sets that we need to analyze. It's growing exponentially. So I'd like to give some context about data generation. So you probably think it's a little bit off piece, but it's sort of giving you some context to why we need AI to analyze data, and how we're storing data and how data is growing exponentially as we sort of move forward. The transition between AI and data with regards to insights, because as you probably know, a data analyst is more about telling a data story than actually knowing what they actually do in the back office to get to those kind of results. When they go out to present to people, nobody's interested in SQL or not, SQL databases, non-SQL database, or anything like that. They just want the information so they can make business decisions. So that's an important thing about a data analyst, isn't it? The key elements of AI, and just a quick explainer on any of those you don't understand. Some of this you may understand, and probably do. But if I can put a little bit more context around it for you to sort of set the scene, then I will. I'm going to go a short demonstration using Copilot AI in Excel. You may be using it already, but I just want to show how simple it is to use, and why you should be using it, really. We're talking about security and ethical considerations. There are many, particularly around security, and just sort of touch on the future of AI also. And the future of AI-driven, world, really. So, without further ado, so what does it mean, AI-driven world? What does it look like? What do we mean by it? So, there's my definition of what AI is. It refers to a paradigm where artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies are used. I mean, it's a real paradigm shift when you look at what's going on in the world right now, and the growth of data centers, and probably 4 or 5 people that are probably going to decide how AI moves forward in the future. Pretty US centric in many ways. There's lots of things going on in Europe as well, of course. There's lots of AI transformation going around, and there's a lot of talk about, which jobs are going to be affected by this. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So just to give that context around data, and why, how AI is really helping in this area. So the data generation in the last 5 years, you can see on my chart there, a simple chart, but it shows that in the last 5 years it's doubled. And just to give you some context, you can see zettabytes. What's a zettabyte? Well, a little bit technical information for you. So 1 zettabyte is, I think it's 1 billion, isn't it? Gigabytes of data, or 10 to the power 21 for your mathematicians out there. It gives you a rough idea, about this information that's being stored. Most of the information stored is stored in 2 ways, and that's using what they call SQL, or a SQL database, which is something that's been around since the 90s, which is based upon, some of you may remember Access as a sort of give you an idea of sort of tables for products, tables for customers. Everything's connected by keys, primary keys, foreign keys, things like that. I won't go into detail on that, but if you need to know more, sign up for our data apprenticeship, and I can explain all that to you. So you can see, so SQL and NoSQL. So NoSQL means not just SQL. So you may have heard the term before, but you can see on that infographic a little bit about the kinds of information that are going into these databases, and a little bit more on that in just a sec. So structured database is something that we've been using for many years. SQL, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, and many other open source databases, all based on tables, very structured, also referred to as what they call a vertical database. Vertical because you can just keep on adding information, and they've been sort of the bedrock really of big data centers, over the years, until probably around about the sort of mid 2000s, when things started to change and we started to get a lot more, and you probably heard the phrase Web 2.0, where the web started to become more and more interactive. We had lots of apps like Instagram, and obviously previous to that Facebook in the early 2000s, 2006, I think, was it 2006, something around about there. And before that we had MySpace. Don't know what happened to that, but anyway. So a lot of the data was structured in databases, and it was normalized using spreadsheets and so on and so forth, and good old Excel, input or ingested into a SQL database so we could analyze the data using SQL queries and things like that. Well, that's all well and good, and it obviously compared with Excel, which has a limitation of 1 million rows of information. That may sound like a lot, but for large enterprises, that's not so useful. Then we've got another sort of challenge we had coming out of that sort of era around about the mid 2000s. We've got lots of other data, which we've referred to as unstructured data. So unstructured data is a combination of, well, literally anything that's not in a structured database, really. Anything like a document, a scan, a music file, a video, and all of these kinds of things. And we need to sort of categorize these things, because, you know, if you're searching on the web, I mean, a good example of that is something like Spotify, where you're searching for a particular song, you put in a keyword, and up it comes. A lot of those use what they call a NoSQL database in the background. A couple of names, MongoDB and Cassandra, and they're structured in a slightly different way. If you've ever seen a construction of a web page, it's sort of in a kind of a format that's kind of readable by the human eye in a way. It gives information normally in what they call a JSON file, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation, which basically puts each piece of data or information into a category, and gives it a code that can be searched using keywords and stuff like that. I won't go too far into that, but it's quite interesting. Now, I was mentioning about unstructured data. Unstructured data has been exponentially growing over recent years. This is up to about 2020. It says 80% of data that we use in the business is unstructured data. Latest reports say that's now probably nearer 90% of the data we have. Within that, you've also got something called semi-structured data, which are things like emails. Semi-structured because they have a structure in as much as they have a subject, an email address, and so on and so forth. So it's slightly easier to locate, but even so, there's a lot of that information as well. No doubt, in recent news reports, they've been searching files using AI and unstructured databases to get some insights into recent files. So back in the early 2000s, you probably remember everything was about big data, and big data was normally in a data center somewhere with a SQL relational database. Relational database sit behind things such as CRM systems, Salesforce, that type of thing, ServiceNow. Then around about 2010, we moved into a sort of the next phase, if you like, of storing data, and that was called the data lake. So that was sort of as I said, the second response. Now, the data lake meant that structured and unstructured data could be analyzed using machine learning. So machine learning, as you may know, is a subset of AI. So machine learning uses algorithms, and I'm sure many of you know what an algorithm is, but it's basically a set of instructions or steps to a defined goal. So a good analogy of an algorithm would be a recipe in a cookbook, really. So you've got the ingredients, you've got the cooking time and the mixing and all of that, and the defined endpoint is a cake or something like that. So the algorithms would be built. So the software developers, the data scientists would build the algorithms to extract the data from the data lake, and then start to get some insights about that data. And of course, all of this unstructured data is very useful. Blog posts, that type of thing, depending on the industry you're in, whether it be social media or just engineering or just getting insights into for your sales team or whatever. It's very, very useful. So there was the third response, new kid on the block. Excuse my graphic there. So now we have the data lakehouse. So, oh gosh, data lakehouse. So what's this? Well, that is the latest kind of, if you like, description of how we're storing our data now. What's the difference? I think someone gave me an analogy once, which I call the IKEA analogy. So if data was in IKEA, the data lake would be in the warehouse, but the data lake house would be out on the shop floor in categories like, you know, bedroom furniture, dining room, that type of thing. So and the data lake is kind of pulled together by some household names such as AWS, Amazon, Azure, which is obviously Microsoft, and there's another two players in there that act as a sort of intermediary within organizations, particularly larger organizations where you've got lots of data and you need some specific insights into that data. There's two big players in there, both American companies. One called Snowflake. You may have come across Snowflake. You may use it. I know one of the companies I deal with, American company, they use Snowflake to get insights into their data. And there's another one there called Databricks. So Databricks is a fairly new to they've been around a few years now, but they do a similar kind of job. So what they do, they use AI to analyze data. They create a platform, and I'm going to show you what that platform looks like, where they can ingest data and get some insights. So let me just and I'll just show you this. So this is Databricks. So, and this is very, very similar to Snowflake as well, by the way. But the difference with Databricks is it works on open source technology, sort of Apache Spark, I think, and it sells its services to organizations, as does Snowflake. The great thing about Databricks is there is as you can see, this is my version of Databricks. You can actually sign up for Databricks and get a sandboxed version. So it's something you can use on a personal level, not enterprise wide, but on a personal level. And I won't go into in great detail, but I would suggest that if you're interested in data and you're interested in AI and what's coming around the corner, this would actually be a good starting point. There's a very good video there. And if I look on the left-hand menu, this is my workspace. There's a catalog in there. There's jobs and pipelines. So pipelines are data pipelines that are coming out of the lakehouse, usually looked after by what they call the data engineer. The data engineer uses AI to analyze the data. They use an acronym called ETL, which is extract, translate, and load. So they extract the data, they translate it with regards to normalization of the data. They look for anomalies in the data, outliers, and so on and so forth, using AI and algorithms, machine learning, and then they present the data to the organization through this platform. So in there, you've got things like you've got data ingestion. You've even got in here, I really highly suggest, if you've got a Google account, just sign in. It's fantastic. You don't get spammed either. And in here, they've even got an AI and machine learning section. There's a little playground there, so you can mess around with they've got a version of GPT in there that you can try out, and so on and so forth. I would suggest you have a look at it. There's dashboards. You can create dashboards in there of your data, so you can actually import your own data and get some insights into it using these dashboards, which which are quite good. So I mean, this is where AI is kind of going, really giving you some insights. I don't know if there's no data in there to actually look at, so I'll just go back one. But yeah, it just gives you a rough idea. This is Databricks, as I say. There's lots of tutorials in there as well. If you are interested, if anyone wants a session on it, give me a shout, and I'll be glad to go through it. So that's Databricks. So that's a live version. So that's what we've just been looking at: data pipelines and AI being used to get data insights, to clean up the data. It comes into something like Databricks, and then from there you can analyze the data in Databricks using SQL, and then export it out into Power BI or Tableau or something like that. So one of the things that have been coming up quite a lot with AI in particular is the security perspective. Now, um, and I can talk from experience here that just using Copilot within the business, um, I have asked for some information at one point in time, and a few weeks later, I've then gone into something else, and something's popped up from my last query from a few weeks back, which is totally unrelated. So I think one of the biggest issues around AI is the fact that it kind of remembers everything. And of course, this is how it learns. It remembers everything, it learns everything. And you know, you do need to be really careful when inputting information about your organization, and bearing in mind GDPR and data protection. That's quite a key thing, really, isn't it? Because you could be liable to you know, for a fine or something like that if you're not careful. So one of the organizations I work with have actually created their own large language model, which is sort of sandbox within the business. I can see that happening a lot more in the future, because at least they're then sure that data that they're putting into the model is not being used with regards to the you know, the learning of the model, because this is how they learn, isn't it? They these large language models, they ingest, you know, tons and tons of data into them, and that's how they learn, using machine learning and so on, and neural networks, which I'll talk about in a bit. So yeah, you can set up your own large language model. It's possible to do that, quite straightforward. In fact, you can download something and make that work within the business. There are some ways to turn off. You speak to your IT administrator, they can turn off certain aspects of the AI so they don't learn from your data. But I'd still be very cautious. I mean, one of the things about AI, one thing it does, it will act as a watchdog, and I put there, continuously watching the data that's flowing through the organization. And it's very good at finding what they call shadow data. So what's shadow data? So shadow data is data that's in your organization that hasn't been categorized, and you may not even be aware of it, but it's out there. It's like, you know, when you go on SharePoint, sometimes you look through different things and you put in some you know, a keyword to find information. There's a whole ton of information turns up. A lot of that information probably hasn't been categorized. So if it hasn't been categorized, it may not be useful to the business, because it can then not be, you know, it's not being translated into kind of insights, if you like, for the business. So it's one thing it's very good at doing, is you can send out the AI to look for data that's in your network somewhere that hasn't been noticed. I have to mention key data security risks. There are a few out there. They say that the top 5 jobs in the future will be data scientists, data engineers, and cybersecurity analysts, for good reason, really, because cybersecurity will become a lot more prominent in the business. Certainly, you'll probably have someone who's a cybersecurity specialist in their field, to be able to deal with any of the following, really. So data poisoning and corruption, that's usually a bad actor, and a lot of these bad actors, of course, they're state sponsored as well, and that's not just government, is it? It's also technology and you know, intellectual property as well. They will try to break in. I mean, it happened to NHS quite recently, and I probably suggest it would have been something to do with that. Prompt injection attacks. So prompt engineering, as you probably know, is where we tell the AI or ask the AI for certain information, and we give it a context, don't we? And the more you give it context, the better the information that's coming out. So prompt injection attacks apparently becoming very frequent. So again, using a script will go into the model and drag out information about the business or the government or whatever it might be, really. Data leakage and privacy inversion again. There's a lot of opportunities, I think, for bad actors to use that. Intellectual property theft, adversarial examples, manipulations of data to give you the incorrect insights, that type of thing. Unsecured APIs, that's one that's becoming quite prevalent at the moment. So an API, you probably know what an API is, but an API is an application programming interface. And what a lot of people are doing, they're actually connecting these APIs into their AI models, or sometimes into a website or something like that. A simple API could be just, from the meteorological office, finding today's weather or something like that. But there's lots of APIs going into corporate ERP systems, enterprise resource processing systems, in manufacturing, stuff like that. So that's something to look out for. Ethical considerations using AI. So one of the things they're really worried about moving forward is that when AIs start to decide, a certain bias towards different groups of people in society, it could be male, female, it could be religion, all of those characteristics that are protected under the law in the UK, Equality and Diversity Act. So that's something, to really kind of look out for. And I suppose depending on where these models are based will depend on different biases. Of course, most of these models are based in the US at the moment. So artificial intelligence examples, I've put a link in there, which I will put into the chat at the end. This was something about bias and discrimination from the UNESCO website, which is a very interesting read, actually. Privacy and surveillance. That's always, I don't want to send us all down a dystopian rabbit hole, but there was a very small company back in just after 9/11, back in 2001, that there's about 5 guys in this company, and they approached after the attack, approached the US military and started quite a wide-ranging surveillance operation using machine learning and AI. That small company of 5 guys is now one of the most profitable businesses in the world. You may have heard of it, called Palantir. They also have government contracts in the UK, in particular with the NHS, which is probably a little bit of a concern. But the point is, you do have to watch out for these things with AI. There are some positives, which I will get to. Accountability and liability. That's another one. If an AI makes a mistake, whose fault is it? Is it the person that engineered the prompt? Is it the AI? Is it the people that developed the AI? It's quite a consideration to take into consideration, to take on board, really. So what are the core technologies within the AI? So we've got machine learning, which is one of the subsets. As I said to you before, uses algorithms. These algorithms are, very important in daily life today. I mean, one algorithm I can relate to is the one that was developed a few years back from a Cambridge professor he's just in his 40s at the moment, which is an algorithm that paired up a donor of kidneys to the receiver of a kidney, and it can do that within the hour, and off they go in helicopters and on motorcycles to collect the kidney and get it into somebody who's needs that urgently. So there's lots of good things happening with machine learning and algorithms. And algorithms have been around for hundreds of years, of course. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which uses neural networks. So I don't know if anyone knows what a neural network is, but this is where the AI will mimic the way that the brain works. So I won't go into great detail about that, but it sort of becomes, it's sort of the way the brain works, using different networks in the brain to come to the decisions and setting off neurons and things like that. That's what a neural network is. Generative AI used to create summaries, and you may have summarized your presentation and stuff like that. And ChatGPT is a good example of that. But there are many more, and I will give you a couple of examples towards the end. Natural language processing. That's where you can interact with the AI. It's becoming very good at that, and they say by 2030, it's going to be very intuitive. I mean, it's doing quite well now, but you've still got to be a little bit careful, because AIs do tell lies sometimes, and you have to look out for those. If you're using AI to generate data or generate insights, it's always good to check that all adds up. There's no outliers in there. Real-time analysis, very good at that. So I'll give you a demonstration in a short while of Copilot in Excel. But it's very good at processing data instantly. It's also very good at creating data sets. I mean, one of the things, when you're practicing these technologies, that you might want to do is create a data set that's not actual data, because that could be that could be dodgy from a point of view of intellectual property and all the rest of it. But and what I've said earlier about how AIs will actually keep that data and remember it. You can create synthetic databases with AI by just asking it, maybe putting a header sheet in from Excel or something like that, and then saying that this is the data I want. I want, customers and products, and these are the products I want, stuff like that. You put that into an AI prompt, and it will actually give you a data set, that a CSV file. You need to tell it that that you can then input into AI or into a database to analyze. One of the things it's very good at too, I haven't got time to show you how good it is at predictive and prescriptive analysis, but again, you have to be careful at the moment, because it may send you down a little bit of a rabbit hole. But predictive and prescriptive analysis. So when we get our outputs from the data analysis, we then present that data. And we've got descriptive analysis, which is the data we've got. We've got predictive analysis, is if nothing changes, this is where it's going to be in 12 months time or 3 months time or something like that. But what AI is very good at is a prescriptive analysis, where is if you do certain things within the data, then it's you're going to make some savings, or you're going to make extra profit on the bottom line, or something like that. A good example of that, I did it recently with energy savings, ESG, where I put in the data, and it told me that if I distributed the energy in a certain way, or I turned down the energy at certain times of the day, then I would make savings of so many thousands of pounds. So this is where it can be really useful within a business, because it can actually show you how to generate profit on the bottom line. Unstructured data analysis, again, going back to my context on data storage, this is where AI excels by looking at images, and it literally, like, it does look at them and videos, and makes gives you insights into the data that you're holding in one way or the other, and give you a report back and that type of thing. Data, I'm going to say this well, democratization. Oh, I've said it. makes data accessible to non-technical users. And again, as data analysts, what we'll do, we'll tell a story about the data, and AI can give some really great insights to that. AI-driven data versus traditional. You can see automated, self-learning, proactive, and so on and so forth. And of course, proactive, and also at speed. You know, it can really give you some insights very, very quickly. So I've got just a very short presentation of how to use Copilot in Excel. You've probably used Copilot in Excel, but I just thought I'd just demonstrate that for you. How easy it is to use. So here I've got a rich list actually. I'm not on there anyway. I have checked. So these are all the billionaires, not necessarily in the right order, but roughly they sort of move, don't they, from week to week, really, depending on what's going on and the price of their shares or whatever it might be. But all the top ones are in there, as you can see. So within your Excel, particularly if you've got 365, because the great thing about 365, of course, it updates to the latest version, doesn't it, as we go through. There's several things that you can use. I won't go into through them all. You can see I've got a few up there. There's Python up there, and a few others. If you haven't got it showing on your home screen, go into the add-ons and just type in there what you're looking for, in this case, Copilot. And it will come up. So I just need to sign in. It's going to let me sign in. Hopefully it's going to let me sign in. So what we're solving today. So what it's going to do, it's going to look at this. It's going to look at this spreadsheet here, and it's going to give you some insights. You can just literally ask it, analyze this worksheet. Here, off we go. It's gone into the prompt, and off it goes. And as you can see, within a very short space of time, it will start to generate some insights into this. And not only will it generate insights, but it will ask me if I would like to have some sort of infographics, like bar charts, and so on and so forth. So it takes a little while to do that, but that's how easy you can do it. So I would suggest you do that. Get in there, have a go. As I said, provide clear, actionable observation tailored to your role, and so on and so forth. This one's particularly tailored to what we do in apprenticeships. So I won't go into it too far, because it may throw up some information that I shouldn't be showing you on the screen. But I'll just show you. I've got some insights I did earlier, which I can share with you. Bear with me just one moment. See, here we go. Here's what I did earlier. It's like Blue Peter, isn't it? So there's the same spreadsheet, and these are the kind of insights I got from the Copilot. So I've got a bit of a pivot table going on here with some insights. It gives me a breakdown of the technologies, and so on. So there's the top one there, technology. We're not surprised by that, are we? And it was also, it will give you an awful lot of information, like in a pivot chart, that you can then convert into charts and things like that. Industry versus total wealth and so on. This is all what Copilot gave me without too much guidance. And in fact, that was asking me the questions if I want to ask them, and I just said yes and put them in, and off it went. It's quite basic, but what you can also do with Copilot in Excel is actually you can add columns. So if you need to work out a percentage of profit from cost price to sale price or whatever, you can just you can just ask it to add a column in there, and it will actually give you the variables and all the rest of it. So it's quite useful. So if you haven't used it already, I suggest you have a play around with that. You may want to have some synthetic data like I've used. I got this data. You may be aware of the website called Kaggle. It's just putting Kaggle into Google, and it'll come up with on Kaggle. You can get lots of different types of data set, and information that you can use for any subject at all, from climate change to engineering to bicycle sales or whatever you need, really. So yeah, that's a good one. There's also another website if you need to put in UK government. Government UK open data sets. There's lots of information in there also. If you just put government data sets, you'll get lots of US data sets in there, which you may be interested in. I don't know. So the future of AI. That's always a question mark, though it's like a speeding train, really, AI, isn't it? It's going to reach the station at some point, and it's still traveling down the track. I mean, you could liken it to the space race, but I think, this, or the industrial revolution, I suppose, but AI is probably bigger than all of those. I think I mentioned it earlier, but unfortunately it's in the hands of about 5 or 6 men in the world, and most in the US. So it can be a concern, I guess. The question I often get is, will I be replaced? Will my role be replaced? My data role be replaced? I mean, a lot of people are asking the same question in lots of different industries. There will be a realignment of jobs, I think, in the job market in the coming years, particularly in the next 5 years. If your job is I don't want to worry you at all, but if your job's a knowledge-based job, such as legal or something like that, then AI can do that job. As I proved when I looked to set up a trust, it just gave me all the information and all the forms to fill out. So it was very useful. And I had a quote for about £3,000. So that took me about 10 minutes to do that. I think the question should be, how will my data role evolve with AI? And I think this is why we should be embracing AI, because the people that don't embrace AI will be left behind, I believe, in certain industries. You have to embrace it. And what difference will it make? It will make your job probably a lot easier, actually, and you'll be spending more time doing the thing that you should be doing, which is presenting the data story to the organization, because that's where the decision making is being made that can transform the organization, isn't it? Really. Fun enough, I actually made this infographic on an AI that I use on a regular basis. I'm just going to share it with you because I think everyone should be using it. But as you can see on my infographic there, I just inputted lots of information into this particular piece of AI, and it came up with this. And it's quite interesting. It shows how to future-proof your skill roadmap, learning AI, keep learning AI as it evolves, and it's evolving very quickly. There's lots of noise out there about AI. If you're going to learn something, I mean, you need to come to an organization like ours, or you can learn it online, but stick with one thing. Don't go here, there, and everywhere, because it's very confusing. And you'll think, oh my goodness, it's just so overwhelming. And as you know, with the information we have nowadays, there's so much information out there that you need to sort of kind of focus on one area. I'm just going to show you how I built this, actually, and it's something I suggest everyone should use. This is called this is something called Notebook LM. It's and by the way, this has not been sponsored by Google, but this does come from Google. It's free, which is always a good thing. And you can see I put a few things in there to sort of give you a little bit of an idea what it can do. So I asked a question about, so you basically create a new insight that you want to come up with, and what you can do, this is great for notes and great for great for learning, actually. So what you can do, you can drop some files in there, a whole list of websites from YouTube and other places, upload some files you may have in your Google Drive or on your desktop, copy some text in there into the prompt window there, and I'll show you what the outcome is. So I've got one here. I was sort of trying to come up with something to make statistics sound interesting. It's difficult to do, I know. So I put in this YouTube video, and I put some prompts in there as well, and you generate the information, and look what it does. It can give you you can decide what you want. I actually did a sort of an audio file there that sort of will actually talk about statistics. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, a whirlwind tour of statistics. And what it'll actually do, I don't hear that, but um, the voices in there are with a sort of a US accent, but even so, they're very good. And you can build slide decks, infographics, which is what I did with that particular one I just showed you. A quiz, flashcards, reports, a mind map. It's a great place for brainstorming and stuff like that. It's free. Again, just use your just search Notebook LM. It's a great resource for the individual, I would think. Anyway, there you go. And that's how I came up with this. This is one of the infographics that I got from LM Notebook. Just input what I want to. So AI, just from this infographic, you can see there, McKinsey says it's going to be worth 4.4 trillion on the global scale. PwC, the accountants, 15.7 trillion. So people have got different ideas about how it's going to impact us, or how it's going to impact the world. So sort of in sort of summary, if you like. So agentic AI, autonomous action, is happening now. Is it 2025, 2026? We've got self-driving cars and all that type of things. We've got chat bots, which and chat agents and that type of thing. If anyone's tried to get through to their bank, you've probably found that out. Which is quite interesting to deal with. We're now coming to the age of robotics as well. I don't know if you know Tesla. In particular, they're building humanoid robots, which will be driven by AI, of course. That'll be the thing. Final slide coming up. So, post-Moore era. I don't know if you know Moore's law. Moore's law says that every 2 years, processing power will double. We've kind of exceeded that now with different types of processors. I won't go into that, but the likes of NVIDIA and Google and so on and so forth. But so to handle all this data, we need AI, but it comes with a few caveats, as you've seen. This next one is quite interesting. There will be a data scarcity at some point, which means that AI will then start to generate its own data, which will be interesting, I think, which they call synthetic data, which you can do now in ChatGPT or Copilot. But this is the long-term vision. Experts suggest that by 2050, the line between human and machine may blur through cybernetic augmentations, implants, and it goes on. I won't read it all to you, but I think the word I want, or the phrase I'd like to sort of leave you with really is that you need to get on that train, to that AI train really. It's left the station. You need to get on board. You need to learn about AI. You need to upskill. I suppose that's the thing, because just wrangling data if that's what you do in your job at the moment, you need to move up to data analytics. You need to move up to data science, and harness the power of AI, because AI will be doing all this stuff with or without you. So it's now's the time to get on board. That's
Amazing.
me. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was really, really insightful. I've made loads of notes actually, so this has been great for me. Just a couple of questions. I've had some privately sent to me, and I see there's a couple in the chat as well. So Graham's asked, in your view, what job roles do you becoming more valuable, not less, in an AI first environment?
Well, Yeah, well, I think data analytics really, and data science. So data analytics is more about telling the story of data. So it's getting those insights out to sort of the general sort of organization, so they can start to understand what's happening within their organization, and they can make some, manage can make decision making a lot easier with using AI and getting those insights.
Oh, thank you so much. What is the biggest misconception organizations have about using AI in a data management today?
I think it's possibly that AI will just give you the insights you need without checking the data, without getting the correct data. And that's where, in a larger organization in particular, or even a smaller organization that's using one of those platforms, the one I showed you today, Databricks, is, you need someone or an organization making sure the data that you're looking at will actually give you the insights that you need. One of the biggest problems with predictive analysis, of course, is that, if it predicts a certain marketplace is going to open up or shrink or something like that, you'll probably move your investments around, and if that information is incorrect, it could you could be in trouble.
Amazing, thank you. Where do you see AI creating the most immediate value across data lifecycle?
So across data lifecycle, I think it is giving you those insights really. I mean, Copilot we a lot of organizations use Microsoft 365, and 365 keeps up to date with the tools that they use. Copilot is becoming very intuitive. And I did mention about the security, but I think by using, I'm not saying you should use AI extensively, perhaps at the moment, but certainly to get some initial insights. But you need to check against that. But I think you need to use AI to drive the business forward, and to take lots of data sets within the organization and get them analyzed, in a short space of time, because markets are moving and other people are using AI to get insights. That's the thing. Your competition is using AI. So if you don't get on board with it, but use it correctly within the business to drive the data forward and get those insights that you need for business and organizations.
Just going from what you just said about data security, had a question from Elaine asking, should I be checking with my internal IT department before using AI in case of a data breach?
The answer to that is yes, definitely. As I was saying, I had something crop up, from a couple of weeks away from when I put the data in, and I was under the understanding that perhaps the IT department had got that on board. I think it's all about competencies as well, isn't it? All the way down the chain. If right at the beginning your IT department, or that could be a third party IT company that you're using, an MSP or something like that, if they don't understand how to limit the ingestion of data into the large language model, then there could be a lot of intellectual property information going in there. So I think, get back to the IT department and make sure that they know what they're doing. Oop. Any more questions at all?
I think there is another one in there, Jonathan. How should
Is
businesses
there?
prioritise? Yeah. How should businesses prioritise AI initiatives when overwhelmed with data but limited on resources? It's where to start, isn't it, and where to spend your money.
Well, it is really, yeah. I guess it's all about focusing on priorities, really, isn't it? Start with something that's going to change the business, with insights into sales or spending or something like that, and then sort of, I would say, get a priority list together. I mean, yeah, it is overwhelming, but at the same time, AI does save an awful lot of time and money. I mean, I would say that every business need a data analyst, and we obviously operate apprenticeships in that area, and getting anybody dealing with data should be at least looking at something like a data technician course or something like that to understand, to get insights themselves. I think it's not just data people that need to know, it's the people that are making decisions, the management, team leaders need to know what's possible, you know, what can they get from this. And I think once they do that, then they can ask lots of different questions. And that's why the data analysts will be quite busy in the future, because they'll get a lot more questions.
It's hard to know what's possible, isn't it, when it's constantly changing all the time and being updated all the time.
Yeah, I think there's some big changes coming. I think it will have an impact on the environment and on society. But you know, I think robotics is coming in the next 5 years, and also you know, the agentic models are going to develop, and they'll be making decisions based upon the information they already have. So that's always one to watch.
Fantastic. Well, I think I think Adele's got connectivity problems, so I'm just going to close out. If there's anybody else with any other questions, please feel free to come back to us. We're more than happy to answer any questions off. We will contact you just to see if there's anything else you need, or if you've got anything you need answered after this session. As Adele said at the beginning, we're going to send out the recording. We're going to send out the slides from today so that you've got everything you need to refer to. And we're here and more than happy to help should you need anything at all. But Jonathan, thank you so much for today. We really, really appreciate it. And
thank you.
With that, I'm going to bring the meeting to a close. Thanks very much for attending.
Thank you, everybody. Don't forget
Thank
to
you very
join our
much.
meeting.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. We've got
Thank
another
you.
webinar tomorrow if anybody's interested in that one, on myth busting on autism at 10:30 as well. So do join us if you can. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.